This video is on Lesson 6, Debt Collection. We'll start with why consumers don't pay. Number one is loss of income, usually from either unemployment, illness, or other such as divorce or death of the person that makes the money for the family. Overextension is the second leading cause. Poor money management, emergencies, materialism, meaning that they want everything that they can't really afford, and need for instant gratification. Sometimes they also don't pay because the goods were defective and so they just refuse to pay. We've discussed previously that you must write a letter to resolve that type of problem and protect your credit rating. Fraudulent use of credit is another reason. In other words, they never intended to pay. They knew that they weren't ever going to be able to pay when they charged it. Some warning signs of trouble that you're in debt more than you should be. You don't know how much you owe. You pay your bills late. You get a loan to pay old loans. You pay only the minimum balance due each month. If you spend more than 20% of your net income after you've paid your rent or mortgage on debt maintenance, which we talked about earlier in another chapter, you would have an immediate financial problem if you had lost your job and you're spending more than you earn using your savings to pay for day-to-day expenses. The first steps to take if you can't pay your bills are to take a closer look at your budget and trim expenses. Usually there are places that you can trim if you look closely. You would be surprised. Be realistic about what you can afford. Contact your creditors to discuss why you can't pay, that you intend to pay, and when and how much you will be able to pay. Those are all important things to discuss with your creditor. You can't stick your head in the sand and act like the problem isn't there. Attempt to work out a payment schedule and, if possible, continue to make the minimum payments while you're trying to work out the problem with your creditor. Credit counseling is sometimes helpful, and an inexpensive way to do this is with the National Foundation for Consumer Credit. This is a program that offers information on financial aid and consumer topics. All cities with populations of 50,000 have one. There are 1,500 locations nationwide. They review your income. They help you set up a realistic personal budget. They may contact your creditors and help you to make arrangements for reduced payments on your bills. They help you plan for future expenses. The services, depending on the location, may be available for no charge or a reasonable fee. You can visit nfcc.org for more information on credit counseling at no or low cost. You can also consolidate your debts. Loan consolidation allows you to make only one payment, and that payment is usually lower than the total amount of your monthly debt payments. The caution to this is that you want to be sure that you get rid of the credit cards that you consolidated, because if you don't, what happens is you make that one payment that's lower. You continue to add to those credit cards, and then eventually you're in worse shape than you were to begin with. So loan consolidation should only be done if you're undergoing credit counseling already and if you are committed to improving your situation financially. Consider your spending habits carefully before taking out a home equity loan. You certainly don't want to get your home in trouble. You should watch out for companies that tote themselves as credit repair companies. They offer profit counseling, they offer debt consolidation loans, and they offer debt counseling. They advertise that they can erase poor credit history, which no one can do that, so be wary of anyone that advertises that. Some fair debt collection practices for the consumer. The debt collector, they have certain obligations that they have to fulfill, and one of those is that they have to inform you in writing of the amount of the debt, the name of the creditor, and an explanation of right to dispute the credit. The debt dispute must give you written proof of the debt. The debt collector may not contact you at unusual times or places, disclose what you owe to anyone but your attorney, harass or threaten you, use false statements, give false information about you to anyone, misrepresent the legal status of the debt, or engage in any unfair practice. In fact, this past year in Dallas, a woman did win a suit against a creditor that had harassed her, and she had kept a log of how many times they had called and had recordings of it. The next topic is garnishment for your wages. What is this? It's a legal procedure that withholds a portion of your earnings for the payment of debt. There are limits to garnishment. It has to be lesser of 25% of your disposable income or 30 times the federal hourly minimum wage. You may be able to get a claim of exemption if you meet all the following exemption statuses. You have family that lives in the state, your immediate family lives in the state, your money that you're earning is needed for necessities such as home, medical care, and food. Your debt was for a necessity such as home, medical care, or food, and the garnishment has already started. You cannot be fired for any one garnishment. The law for garnishment is enforced by the Secretary of Labor through Wage and Hour Division of the U.S. Department of Labor. Next is wage earner bankruptcy. You petition bankruptcy court to approve a plan. The court will then accept the plan or ask you for additions to it. Interest on all your loans stops. Your creditors contact the court, and at the end of 3 years, if paid as agreed, your debts are considered paid in full. Your costs could range between 15 and 25% of the amount owed, so it is not a cheap way to get out of debt. The benefits are that you can sometimes salvage your credit, avoid being harassed by creditors, and you're forced into being realistic about your budget. All three are good benefits. Your disadvantages are that some lenders don't react favorably when they see wage earner bankruptcy on a credit report because some people use it to protect their property and pay less of their debt. So because some of them abuse this wage earner bankruptcy, some lenders do not react favorably to it. So you want to consider that when you're going in, if you're considering this as an option. And the last one is straight bankruptcy. This is up to 10 years on your credit. We usually hear 7 years, but it can be up to 10 years. What you may still owe are taxes and child support, alimony, college loans, fines, illegal debts, co-signer obligations. But what you no longer owe are retail store charges, bank credit card charges, unsecured loans, unpaid hospital or physician bills. It's real important that you understand when you file bankruptcy that you still may owe some things, and there's a list for the things that you may still owe. End of chapter.